All right, Lee, let's get right down to business and bring up the heat map. What did you want to start with today?
Let's start overseas, Kev.
All right.
Services PMIs generally came in stronger than expected, with large increases across the global economy. In Europe, every service sector reading was at least slightly stronger than what economists had penciled in, and all improved sequentially. China was the big outlier with market data. That's market, MARKIT, the private economic firm. They actually had an explosively higher reading in China of 55 for May. Remember, anything over 50 is expansion. Contrast that with 36.9 was the flash data for the USA rather. In the Eurozone as a whole, services activity posted a number of 30.5, so that is rapid contraction, but it's at a much slower pace than April, and it is showing sequential improvement, which is the market narrative at the moment. Everything is getting better, even though absolutely things aren't great. Um, so, also, industry estimates suggest that we're seeing the highest auto sales in China in over a year. Uh, so, February was terrible over there, but we've had huge increases in March, April, and May. So, uh, obviously, these are levels now greater than before the pandemic started. So, improvement in China. In the Eurozone, German officials haven't agreed yet to additional stimulus, so that they're talking about it, 50 to 100 billion euros. But expectations do remain in place for the country to lift its travel ban from other Eurozone states on June 15th. Italy also reported its lowest unemployment rate in 12 years, but really that was due to the drop in the number of job seekers. There's also the happy thought percolating in traders' brains that the ECB will announce an increase to its pandemic emergency bond purchase program at tomorrow's ECB meeting. So we will tell you the results of that tomorrow morning. Regarding the virus, Dr. Fauci has expressed a bit of a concern about the level of protection a vaccine could deliver. If it acts like other vaccines against the coronavirus, it probably won't provide a long duration of immunity. Catapulting on those remarks, Scott Gottlieb, who was the former FDA commissioner, in an interview with CNBC today, said that the corona vaccine will probably need to be administered every year, like the seasonal flu vaccine, and unlike the vaccines for smallpox and polio, which you probably know give you immunity for life. Domestically, private payrolls fell by 2.76 million in May, according to ADP. The plunge was 19.6 million, of course, in April. The issue here, though, Kevin, is that the economists, depending on who you looked at, were looking for a decline of 8.75 to 9 million. And the reason for the disparity, huge disparity, is unclear. Some people are saying what's going on with ADP's model. But if it is that much better than expectations, maybe that'll be a little bit of a positive surprise for the job report this Friday.
We could use a positive surprise on that side of things.
Yeah. Also, it's domestically here in Fed speak. I thought this was kind of interesting. St. Louis Fed economist Yi Wen said that negative interest rates is what it would take to achieve a V-shaped economic recovery. He said, quote, "I found that a combination of aggressive fiscal and monetary policies is necessary. Aggressive policy means the U.S. will need to consider negative interest rates and aggressive government spending, such as an infrastructure bill." He cited historical examples like President Roosevelt's fiscal stimulus during the 1930s and the huge surge in government spending that took off during World War II. So the Fed has said, remember, no negative interest rates, but he works for the Fed, at least the St. Louis one, and he's saying, well, I don't know. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And finally, if you all are a bit depressed with what's going on with, you know, the virus and the civil unrest, you aren't alone. According to the FDA, uh, one of the most widely prescribed antidepressant medicines is in short supply.
Hmm.
Pfizer said some versions of its name brand of Zoloft uh, were scarce because of high demand, specifically their 100 milligram tablets. Um, just get this, those prescriptions climbed 12% year over year in March. And basically, they've had the most of these pills taken ever in the US, ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't say that I'm surprised by this, but it's interesting to put some data to it.
Yeah. And now, Kevin, it is time for stocks in the news.
Let's do it, Lee. Where to begin this morning, sir?
Oh, let's look at Zoom.
All right. Zoom, zoom.
And they had a triple play. They beat earnings by 10 cents. They had stronger revenues and they raised guidance. The thing is just continuing to go up.
I mean, what are you going to say? I think you said it, Lee. Keep an eye on that 10-day for now, I guess.
Yeah. Or, you know, some people will use when things are really moving, they'll use a trailing stop,
Sure.
under the low of 2 days ago. So that is also a way when things are going kind of parabolic, you can manage your risk. Interesting though. So based on that report, RBC Capital upgraded it to an outperform, but at the same time, Goldman reiterated its sell recommendation. So there you go.
Party poopers.
Yeah. I wonder if they get into fist fights at the analyst meetings.
I wonder. They
Uh,
probably do some stare downs, maybe some dance fighting.
yeah, exactly. Well, again, don't stand in front of a freight train.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also agree that even in the face of fantastic moves to the upside, it's always prudent to make sure you're raising your limitations as far as your stop orders, and maybe even using the trailing stop, as you said, Lee. There's some good technique out there for you to manage your profits here, everybody. All right, what's up next?
Amazon.
Okay. Oops, got to there too quickly. My apologies. Amazon. Ooh, looks like
Looking
it's
like
on
it's
the
trying to break that.
cusp of a breakout, right?
Yeah, let's keep our eye on that one. The news is they are setting up a summer sale for June to boost sellers hurt by the outbreak and of their sellers that are swimming in inventory. The company told brands it would launch a fashion sale on June 22nd to run anywhere between 7 to 10 days. Then the participation in the event was invitation only. What it's doing is it's building landing pages with the working title Biggest Sale in the Sky. And it has asked the brands that want to participate, or who have been invited, I should say, to meet an end of today's deadline to submit deals. And they have to submit deals with a discount of at least 30% off list price. So, uh,
That's pretty good stuff
stay,
for consumers.
yeah, so stay tuned, go on Amazon on June 22nd and see. Maybe you'll get some stuff a lot cheaper. So pretty cool there. Let's put up AMC Theaters. AMC. Not all news is good.
Wouldn't know it from the chart, Lee.
No, you wouldn't know it, but they came out today and said that there is substantial doubt it can remain in business
That's
after.
and that's man, that's scary to hear.
It is, but I don't understand why they're going up. But
I don't either. Relief rally, maybe some general malaise and belief in everything getting back to what once was. But I understand their concerns here, Lee. I mean, this has been a sliding scale for the industry, hasn't it?
yeah,
Ever since the the real boom in home theater and television and all of that at home, and the ability to stream from home. Ever since that has really taken off, it's hindered the theater's abilities to get people in, and you've seen it in the form of fewer seats already, right? More comfy seats. You have far fewer. It wasn't all that long ago, Lee. You'd walk into a Star Wars theater on a premiere, and it was 500 people.
Yeah.
And now they don't want you to, and even before the corona, they didn't want you in there for 500. They'd said, let's give you fewer people. Let's go better accommodations, much more comfy, lay down seating, all of that stuff. And, it seems like it started a while ago and only now is becoming a really big issue for this group. So tough to witness, because I don't know about you. I love going to the movies. I love watching movies at home, but I love going to the movies in the theater. It's just a whole different experience.
Yeah. Crazy action on the stock given that announcement, though.
I know. I'm really surprised by it, but I'll tell you, Lee, I don't have any reason to look at it until at least it took some levels out right there. And I don't know that that's really in the offing here. So we'll see.
All right. Apple, people probably heard of that company.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, threatening also.
It's threatening to break out. And the news on them is that Morgan Stanley increased their target to 340 from 326.
All right. 340, another 15 points from here. That's interesting. All
right. So watch that one for the breakout. Ambarella, AMBA, pretty popular stock. Yeah, getting creamed here. They beat on earnings, but their revenues were flat, and they lowered guidance. So.
It's an interesting chart because it's been so well above the 200 here, Lee. This might just be a throwback to the breakout spot.
Yeah. So
I mean, from a technical basis, at least.
Yep.
So maybe you keep an eye on the 20 and the 200, which are pretty coincident with each other right here. These matching peaks, having been busted, could act as a little bit of support in this range. But I like this area. For those of you who are wondering if you've been waiting for an opportunity, maybe you thought yesterday you missed it, for example. So if it pulls back and holds the 20 here, you've got some easy ways to set your risk.
That's right, if you like the company in spite of what they said.
Exactly.
Campbell Soup, CPB.
All right. That's choppy.
All right. Choppy chart. Look at how they bought it off the 10-day this morning, if that's a real... Look at that tail.
That is an interesting tail. Let's check that on the 5-minute here real fast.
Hopefully, I wonder if it's a bad tick. No, doesn't look like it.
That looks like a good tick, actually. Look at all that volume, too.
Yeah.
Volume today, Lee. 230% over average. Much of it in the sell-off here, of course.
Yeah, so I think the market's reacting to, while they beat on earnings by 29 cents, they had weaker revenues, but they did raise guidance, so
okay,
kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, we've been talking about cloud stocks and all that, computer stocks. Let's look at CrowdStrike.
All right.
Because
we talked about this just yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was it Monday? I think it was Monday.
Yeah, and this one is up because, Kevin, it's a triple play. They beat by 8 cents on stronger revenues, and they raised guidance.
So up about 5%, up good volume here, 340% average. And this looks as a little bit of profit taking off of the open here, Lee, to come back and find the high from yesterday's breakout and hold the 20 EMA here. Be an important area for short-term traders if this is something that they like the report. And you have every reason to like the report. I mean, a triple play is a triple play.
Right. So
So
yeah, it
good
just
volume
showed.
here though.
Yep.
Oh
All right.
man, the RSI looks good too. I mean, there's
Yeah.
and for the record, I think this is the all-time high now since the stock has not been around all that long. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So look for it's not surprising that it took a little profit taking after it
Hmm.
ran up to the old high, but we'll see if later in the day they buy it back and try to push it through there.
Yeah, one final comment here, Lee, and this is just really in general because we've been talking about it, but software and anything that involves the cloud or cloud protection is really what people are paying very, very close attention to right now. Those
Right.
groups are just leading everything we're doing.
That's right. We got a question. Do the candles
Yeah.
include pre and post market trades? No, they don't. You can show what happened in the pre and post market, but they're not
Mhm.
going to show up on the daily candlestick chart.
Right.
Okay. Next, Quest Diagnostics, DGX.
Nope. No, give me that one more time, Lee.
X, like X-ray.
There we go. Well, that's a lot of length to a chart here. That shouldn't have been. There we go. That's a little easier to read. Ooh,
Yeah, so
this is interesting.
it is interesting. Will that turn into a bearish engulfing candle, which would suggest
Mm-hmm.
a test of the 10-day moving average, or will it rally later in the day? Um, they did, the news was relatively good. They said that the recovery and testing for coronavirus has been faster than anticipated. So
Yeah, today's
more tests.
candles, interestingly, a couple of things stand out to me here. And granted, you don't go forecasting without, looking and saying, I needed some evidence of this. But you have a peak followed by another peak. This peak is slightly lower than the last on the RSI. It is at a level that you like to see, but I don't necessarily like that it's fading at that second level. The fact that it kind
Yeah,
of busted that. If you get that engulfing candle, like you said, Lee, that's absolutely the opposite of what you want to be seeing at the upper register there,
yeah,
especially since it didn't break out.
right.
So that
So
leaves me a little cautious.
yeah, so again, maybe that'll portend a pullback to the 10-day moving average.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at Lyft.
Let's see. Lift. Hey, they're hanging in my channel I've drawn, Lee.
Yep.
Just extend this out a bit.
And they said that they see lower than expected losses due to the pretty good increase in ridership in May. The ridership went up 26%.
Okay. Is that month over month?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense with April being pretty quiet, right?
Yep.
Look
It
for
looks
the
like
move above this 3511, I would think, right, Lee?
yeah, that previous high from
Right there,
right there. If it does do that, many traders would say it'd run up to the 200.
close to 40. So, yeah, some interesting ways to set your risk on a possible breakout trade there.
All right. Next, Tesla.
Are they still cruising?
They
Yeah,
are.
they
We
are,
had
aren't they?
we had the strong auto sales numbers from China, number one, and
Mm-hmm.
number two. There's rumors that the company is considering a software subscription service.
So, what would that entail? Did you get any details on it? Does that
No,
essentially?
I didn't have time to delve into it, but
But that's intriguing by name because, I mean, software subscription service.
I
Hmm.
don't know if it might be for their, every time I don't know, if they
I'm gonna have
do
to
more
dive
things
into
with
that
their
one.
autopilot and thing, you
Hmm.
can subscribe for the updates. I don't
Well,
know.
and yeah, I know all their, a lot of that stuff happens on an automated basis anyway,
Yeah.
right? But I wonder if they're talking about, hey, we're gonna roll out this other new cool function that's kind of like insane speed, and we're gonna, but you got to pay for it. You got to be a subscription member, or if maybe it's an altogether something different entirely. Maybe it's internet
Yeah.
payment.
only have so much time in the morning, so I couldn't
I'm
get
not.
the dead.
Hey, Lee, I'm not putting that on you.
All right. Let's see. Mattel.
All right. Still MAT, right?
Yep.
You want a little, you want to go back in time? This
Yeah.
happens to be the very first stock I ever purchased way
Really?
back in 1997. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
So it
So
sits here.
they were upgraded at Jeffries to a buy. So that analyst must be feeling okay. It actually went up on his recommendation.
Sure. Looks like it's into this area where it could be ready to challenge the 200 there, up there around 11:10. It looks like 200 day. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
So yeah, took out the previous high. So
Hmm.
higher highs obviously is bullish.
We like the RSI. We'd like the on balance volume to get into gear a little bit, but the RSI looks favorable here, short term.
And finally, Carnival Cruise Line.
Oh, what's going on with the cruise lines today?
Well, they're up, but the news is that Morgan Stanley resumed coverage with an underweight.
Man, this is still such a very interesting group.
Yeah, it's we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this from a technical basis, this is an area that I want to see the stock trading above is about 18 and a quarter. If we could get out above this and even take out this little peak here that we had, this little extended high. So I guess that'd be closer to 19. I'd feel much, much better, at least
Yeah.
from a technical standpoint. But again, I'm just bogged down personally by the industry and what all they deal with, excuse me, already. So it's a little bit of a tough sled in my head to say, oh, I got to be owning this group, because I see a lot of challenges on deck, and yet, price action tells you one thing, and my mind tells me a different thing. So probably pay attention to price action.
All right, let's move on to the indices, Kev. Turn it over
All
to
right,
you.
you got it. I think we call this the time for indices review. Okay. Let's take a peek at the S&P. So as you can see, everybody, we've got a really nice, solidly green day to get us started here. The S&P continues to do what it has been doing, climbing. Bull market territory on the RSI, getting close into that upper overbought level of 70. We are now, looks like 7 days above the 200 here. The 10-day sloping upward nicely. I think a lot of short-term traders are just going to keep an eye on the 10-day with this nice bullish bent to the narrative of the market at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the market's getting ahead of itself, but as I said, I'm enjoying it. I don't necessarily think that the news is, I mean, they're getting better, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's why you trade what you see and not what you believe. And it's been working very well.
Yeah, I really don't want to argue with it, Lee. I mean, you just got to go with what's working until it no longer works. And the
Right.
key to the no longer works part is having those exit strategies built in. Whether you're employing stops or not, you need to at least have some levels that you want to be selling at should things start to break down so that you can do just that. So if you're really good in the moment at making those decisions on the fly and you watch tick by tick, then by all means, good luck. But I have found for my own approach, utilizing stops to that extent and helping me to exit has been very, very helpful here, even in the midst of a market that continues to climb. Taking a little off periodically hasn't hurt me, that's for sure.
No, and while some of last week's rise was on short covering, like
Hmm.
yesterday, a huge increase in open interest. That's real buying coming in.
So balance out the difference between the narrative on our um, current strife in the country and even beyond that, and just pay attention to what you're seeing. I think that's where you can capitalize. So all right,
Yeah, let's see if
let's
the Qs are going to make a new high.
sure let's do that. They're pretty close.
They're pretty close.
Hey, right there.
Right there.
So our intraday high is 237.47. Our intraday today is 236.85. So we've missed it by all of, 59 cents or something here.
Yeah, we looked at on charting the markets. We looked at the advanced decline line on the Nasdaq 100. It's wonderful. I think if you're trying to manage your risk, if you're going to use the 10, use a close. As you can see, we have traded below it intraday, but it got bought up. If you're just using the last trade, maybe you use the 20, which is the orange line there.
Yeah, don't have much to add. The orange line looks pretty darn secure to me. Boy, Lee, the Russell is just continuing to stay in this upper gear, isn't it? It definitely looks like it wants to challenge that 200 right above.
Yeah, we said that when it broke out 3 or 4 days ago.
Still surprised,
Again,
yet.
Yeah. It's the reopening narrative, I guess.
So 200 on deck at around 1481. An area where if you've been participating in, maybe you've been in the IWM or something similar, if you see the Russell running into the 200 and kind of hitting it, I mean, at the point where I would certainly start to look at just paring back a little bit and wait and see what happens. You can pop through the 200, things change yet again. But it's been a really good producer here of lately. I thought we could check out this performance of it relative to the S&P.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean, if you go back to mid-April, it's been very strong.
Very strong. Which is adding to the good breath numbers too.
And it's interesting because it's also been kind of bogged down previously by financials and whatnot. But as you'll see when we get into sector, and I'll just highlight it here, financials having a banner day today. 3% move. Let's check the transports real quick. And then we'll reference real briefly the jets. Because now this is starting to really do it, isn't it, Lee? 200 up above.
Yeah, it looks like the next stop.
And that has to mean that the Jets have done a similar move today.
Yeah, they took out that previous high.
Short-term high.
And that, which is kind of interesting to me, Bloomberg just reported that the U.S. warned China that it will suspend passenger airline flights if Beijing doesn't allow American carriers to re-enter that market because China is preventing U.S. airlines from landing in their country, apparently. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'll say.
But again, you got to trade what you see and not what you believe.
Right. Okay, let's do a little sort here.
Action. Yep.
There it is. That financials leading the charge today, Lee. So I'm pretty sure that that's probably helping, giving a nice little boost to the Russell here today.
Yeah.
Pretty good financial component.
Also, the energy's doing pretty well today, also, which is
yeah, also up 2.5%. Wow. We're kind of getting, this is an interesting move today because when you look at what's going on, these are not what have been our strong leaders. Look at the laggers today, Lee. The lagger today are the ones that have been our leaders. Your XLK, your NASDAQ 100, your big boys. Those are the laggers today, and you're being led by financials, industrials, and energy of all things.
Well, yeah, it's a little value rotation today. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing by any means, is it?
No, what's the 10-year doing?
Well, it's up pretty well.
Yeah, probably was given a little bit of a
75, almost 76 basis points here.
Yeah, I think the financials will get another boost if it could break out of that range.
Yeah, I would think so too. Because that's what we've been needing from the financial standpoint is the widening of the spread with the 10-year climbing. Right? I mean, that's where the financials stand to get the most bang for their buck, I think.
Right.
So again, I'm confounded, but improving conditions. What are you going to say? check this industrials real quick. Hey. All right, Lee. Well, I mean, what we're seeing from all of these is optimism ruling the roost here. Now, the idea that at this point we're looking at just kind of getting right almost back to normal, essentially, is I think what the market is expecting. I don't know if that's viable and real, but if it is, then yeah, then this is what we're witnessing here is certainly intriguing. That's for sure.
Yeah, look at how we turned to bull market behavior on the RSI too, on the XLI, that overbought for the first time in basically this year.
Yep. Yeah, you got to go back to first week of January, 2 weeks of January to be up here in the RSI for the XLI.
So what we should do, Kev, is
Yeah.
if we are getting this rotation and financials, which have been such a laggard, are moving, let's do a screen in financials.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting one because we haven't looked at financials. I mean, we've been talking about just kind of moving away, but
Yeah.
financials have been really doing well. So that's an interesting one. I think I agree with you there. Let's see. We had a question about Tesla and SpaceX. If I'm not mistakenly, I believe that they are still remain separate entities altogether, and SpaceX remains privately held as compared to Tesla, obviously publicly traded. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, I think so. What's
And
SPCE?
so that's Virgin Galactic.
That's Virgin Galactic, right?
By Richard Branson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one I know had some relationship there. So when you look at SPCE and how it acted on this week, I mean, it had a great day on Monday following the launch that SpaceX did. But I have to wonder if some of the give back is tied to the fact that that's not at all relative to Virgin Galactic necessarily. I mean, perhaps I know that Branson's got plenty in the way of exploration discussion as well. So this might just been a sympathy move on Monday, perhaps. But I believe that I believe they are still separate entities, though. In the mind of Elon Musk, I wonder if he views them as still two pieces of the same pie.
Yeah, let's screen in
All right.
financials, and somebody wants a little bit of momentum put in there. We can do that, Kevin, by comparing the financials A and B, where the 10-day RSI is greater than the 30-day RSI. That should give us some upward momentum.
All right, let's try that. Well, something happened here. Suddenly it doesn't like any of my stuff. So we'll try something else. Let's see, this is bearish. So let's try and flip this around. All right, so we'll do financials greater than 10 since I'm on the long side. Average volume 500,000. A's and B's, not D's or F's. And then give me that technical condition one more time, Lee, with the RSI. You want the 10 RSI above the 30 RSI?
Yes.
Okay. So RSI 10-day greater than RSI 30-day.
And that should give you some momentum.
All right. And so there you go, everybody. Again, we haven't kicked out anything from the group. So that is entirely financial. So that'll include your insurers and whatnot. That'll all be in that entire sector. We have the positive or the momentum-based move here, RSI 10 over RSI 30. Do you want to keep the 20 over the 50 here, Lee, or do we need it?
I don't think it'd do anything if you took it off, probably.
Probably not. Well, it only gave us 40 matches.
Oh,
entirely.
Oh, egg on my face. Oh,
yeah, at least you're a good sport. So, all right. So, let me just quickly retitle this. Otherwise, it'll make me confused.
Yeah, it's sorted alphabetically too.
You got it. I'm sorry, alphabetically?
Yeah.
All right. And then we had a question to begin the show, everybody, about setting up a watch list. This is a really easy way to do it if you're working in the Screener Plus tool. Notice in the lower right corner, you just got Save as Watch List. Click it once, and it becomes available for you to launch from your watch list tool, which I will do with a right click over the plus sign, hover over open watch list, and then down below, you're going to find everything available that I have saved here previously. So bullish financials with the date of June 3. I will get that loaded. And then I'll also just mention for Ray, if you're wondering about building your own watch list, it's just adding the symbols here, and then you can maintain a number of those lists. So feel free to do that, and then save them so that you can access them later and manipulate them later as well.
All right, we got that request for JP Morgan and Bank America already.
You got it. Well, why don't we start with a couple of the big boys then? So it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that JP Morgan was rallying with Jamie Dimon talking about how well they were positioned, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they have now challenged the top of the range. So right up here at around 104 or so. Pretty important area for it to bust through here, Lee, I would think.
Yeah, so where it is now, you might as well wait for the breakout.
I would agree.
If you already own it, watch the 10-day.
Yeah. Difficult as always to be patient, I know, but
that's pretty good resistance, though.
It is pretty good. You know, it's come up to this 3 times.
Yeah, but that would be a big boost to the market if JP Morgan could break out like that.
Yeah. So 200-day could loom quite nicely around 116 if you busted out of this 104, 105 area. But that's starting to look really good. And again, it's 10 days you called out, Lee. So I think that the common theme amongst a lot of these stocks, Lee, is going to be a nicely rising RSI showing some bull market behavior, and a few positions either running themselves into resistance or perhaps having taken out resistance. Here you are with Bank America. It could be said that it's taken out an important ledge that JP Morgan was lagging.
Yeah.
This is looking good too, isn't it?
Yeah. You can put a stop under the red line right now.
I like that idea too.
Yeah, see if we can get to the 200.
Mm-hmm. If you've been in it for a while, stop below the red line, another stop below the 10-day, the yellow line. You know, depending on how you break that down, looks like a good area as well.
All right, next one is UMPQ.
All right. Still range bound, Lee. It hasn't quite gotten out of its way.
Yep.
Although, when you're looking at the group it resides in and what you've seen from the group, it looks like it's just lagging and it hasn't yet made its move, which is a little different. Yeah, would I feel better if it were up here and breaking out? Of course, but sometimes you're getting a chance to join something that doesn't look as strong yet, but might. And the 10-day is not all that far off, Lee.
Right.
So if you're talking about it from a risk reward standpoint, where your risk is down to 11.45 and you're risking 50 cents, and maybe your initial stop is 12.90, you've got a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio here if you use the 10-day.
Yep. So if you want to, I think most momentum traders would trade leaders, but there's certainly a case to be made for what you just said, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted to play a little devil's advocate there.
Okay, PNC was the next request.
Sure.
Ooh.
Now that's intriguing.
Yeah.
This looks like a little flag here.
Yep. Broke out of the
flag. Ready to challenge resistance.
Yep.
My segment lines are no longer needed there.
I think if you were trading this to make your risk a little bit better, many traders would put their stop under yesterday's low.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's really good too. Look at the 10-day coming up to it.
Yeah, and you've got 3 tests of that low too, so
Mm-hmm.
that would be the place.
That looks really good for a spot to just a nice area of support, right?
Yep.
Little more time on the chart. You can clearly see there's a bit of a ledge there, but you know that could be a little pause.
Right.
You know, because that's not a humongous. It's not like it's nudged this ledge at 122. 6 times in the last year. That hasn't been the case. So I think that's a weak area of resistance. I'd still look at it, but I think the 200-day is really the target here, given what we're witnessing.
Yeah, me too. Okay, Zion Bancorp.
All right.
Nice pullback to the 10 in its last move.
Mm-hmm.
Took out yesterday's high. It's only minor resistance at that previous high.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah, not huge. So put a stop under the low of the pullback and see if you can keep on trucking.
Yeah, I think I would look at two areas here. You've got a possibility of taking a little breather there at around 39.
Yeah, that would be your target, I think.
Yeah, between 39 and then maybe if you pulled a little off at 39 and you could target the remainder for the 200 at 41, that would be great. But yeah, I agree and that still sets up pretty well given what we're seeing here. Risk versus reward.
Okay, somebody wants one of the insurers, MetLife.
Okay. This looks like an ascending triangle, Lee. Maybe more like a more like a rising wedge of some sort, but I don't think that it doesn't look bad. Taking out the most recent peak there twice now. So this looks a lot like the other ones, right? In the sense that
Yep.
you've had this breakout. I'm going to put this breakout right here, retreated just like everything else has, Lee, right to the 10-day. So I think this is following suit with the rest of the group, based on
Yeah, I mean, it could easily, I mean, it's a little bit stronger resistance at those highs than on the last one we looked at, but because you got the bottom of the gap there too.
Yep. Right at 38 and a quarter. But boy, Lee, if it popped through there, I mean,
Yeah, it'd be a really, yeah,
right?
the 200 probably fairly quickly too.
And that's 43 and a half. So, you'd be a little gutsy to step in here at 38, but your your reward opportunity would be greater. But you might need a tighter stop to make that fly. And that means you might get stopped out before it came down to the 10-day. If you want the ideal 1 to 3 risk reward, but the 10-day looks pretty good short run here at about 35.60. So you're still giving up 2 1/4 to the downside. So more like a 1 to 2 opportunity from here, but a breakout, and then you put a nice tight stop below it, then your opportunity becomes far greater in terms of the risk reward. Should we check the insurers broadly real quickly, Lee?
Yeah.
AIE?
KIE, yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah, so if you don't want to pick a name, you could do this.
Yeah.
That's
No
looking really good.
Look at the 200 up there, just over 32. So
We just filled that last gap. This is looks like it's set to pop.
Yeah, I
At
think
least
you put a
traders would
stop.
say that.
Would you put a stop below the low of the day, Lee? Like if you're initiating a position, do you like the low of today being that it's breaking out today?
Yeah, maybe just, yeah, exactly. I think so.
Okay, that stands to reason for me as well. Well, boy, Lee, I got to say, we haven't looked in there, and I haven't felt as good in looking at the financials in a long, long time. There's a lot of interesting charts here. I'm positive we didn't get to every one of the interesting ones on the list, everybody. So maybe take a moment to play that screener game with the financials and a little bit more, with a little bit more of a discerning eye. Maybe play with the screener a little bit, see what else you can find. So appreciate you all joining us, though, today. Up next, we